Okay,
Okay.
good.
Yes, ma'am. And we're about to go live right now.
Okay, thank you.
We're about to go live right now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here we go.
Um, and I'm waiting on notification. And we are live, ma'am. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast with an incredible guest, Sister Glorious Muhammad. I am very humbled, ma'am, that you would take time out of your busy schedule to give us some information as well as some inspiration. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, my dear brother Joshua. I'm honored that you would even inquire about what I have done. I haven't done anything but try to be a humble servant of Allah. But so
Beautiful.
I'm honored. Thank you so much. And thank you for the work that you do. This is wonderful work.
Praise be to Allah. Well, for those who may not know, I have seen you in Atlanta working with the youth, and of course, you work with orientation with the sisters. But I've always seen you with the youth. Every time I spoke at the mosque, or I would finish speaking, I would come and get some advice from you, and you always had a kind word. So I thank you very much, Sister Glorious, for always having a kind word and a beautiful spirit. When did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Oh, my dear brother, when I first heard the teachings of the Nation of Islam, it was during the revolution. And let me just, I know you are aware by reading history what the revolution was.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
was when Dr. Martin Luther King and the civil rights um, took place in the South, voter registration. We know what happened with the young people who came from the North to the South on buses so that our people could register and vote. Many of them were killed, but and many of them were brutalized by the Caucasians in the South. Well, I was in New York at that time, and we felt we were part of the revolution. The first person that I heard say, raise his fist and say, Black Power, that was Stokely Carmichael, better known as Kwame Ture.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so he was the first one that I saw do that. And I cried that night. Oh my goodness, I cried so because we didn't know what to do. We felt helpless. So I didn't hear the Nation of Islam, but I did hear later on, I did hear Malcolm X. I did hear about Malcolm X. Now, how I heard about Malcolm was that I went to Borough of Manhattan Community College. All of the college was done in New York. And there was a brother in my remedial math class, of course. And this brother wore a bow tie and a suit every day. And I asked him, why do you wear that bow tie and suit? My ignorance came out very, very bad, very poor. And he said, I'm a member of the Nation of Islam. What you talking about? Where that man and that young girls and where that man is, or that old man? That's me talking. And he said, sister, he listened humbly and carefully. And he explained to me, sister, no, that's not what's happening. And he said, and I said, well, why do you all hate Malcolm? And what? I mean, I asked all the ignorant questions, excuse my language, ignorant questions that our brothers and sisters were asking at that time who didn't understand and didn't want to understand. And he talked to me for that year that we were in the class together, 3 months. Guess what? Within a year, I had my ex. I was Sister Glorious 35X.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Praise be to Allah. So I thank Brother Lord. Brother Lord worked with Minister Akbar. We call him Brother Minister Aziz. He was Larry at that time. He worked in the bookstore with him. And I got to know him very well. But he told me about the times that I talk, ignorant, ignorant. And I asked Allah to forgive me for that.
Praise be to Allah. My sisters, both Miriam and Naima, both in the greetings. Wa salam, you all to you, Sister Glorious.
Praise be to Allah.
My next question is, how did your parents feel about you accepting the teachings?
Well, we had my mother went to New York. She was a teacher in Mississippi. I was born in Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi, and raised in the Delta, the cotton picking Delta. So I'm one who have chopped cotton and picked cotton. There were no jobs for young Black boys and girls at that time. There was the bank, the one little bank in our little town, Roselle, Mississippi. The little bank was, of course, run by the Caucasians. We had nothing to do with it but put your money in there. There were no Blacks in any position. However, about when I graduated from that school in 1962, uh, the next few years, that's when the revolution really took place. Guess what? The first Black mayor, which was a student 2 years younger than I in school, became the mayor of Roselle, Mississippi. And he's still living there now. So Allah has a way of making everything all right. Anyways, but my parents was raised with my mother. My mother, as I said, she was a teacher with two sisters older than I. And when we came to New York, she came to New York first. When I graduated, we all migrated to New York. And uh, my sister and I, as I said, we were involved in the revolution mentally. If it was Zoom back in that day, we would have Zoomed the revolution.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
But
ma'am.
since
Yes,
there was
ma'am.
no Zoom, we were just on the news. We listened to the news. We loved Dr. King. We loved the civil rights movement. Uh, my mother would sit on the sideline, but she didn't criticize. And then when 47 years ago, 72, 73, when I did become a member of the Nation of Islam, she talked about it in the sense that uh, you all be careful over there. And you don't eat pork. My mother ate pork. Everybody ate pork. Pork is all right and all that. I mean, just the regular criticism. But she never said that it's wrong. Bless her heart. She never said that you all should come out of there. But I'm told by my son, and who's now 57 years old, and by my nephews and niece who attended Muhammad University of Islam, that they would see her on the other side of the street, looking over at 116th Street now, looking over at the school. And I never knew that. But they said, no, we'll see we call her Nana. We see Nana over there. But there was a Woolworth, department store across the street at that time.
Yes, ma'am.
And she would be looking and watching. And that was all good, but I didn't know it at that time. And of course, I was teaching in Muhammad University of Islam by that time.
Praise be
Yes,
to
sir. So
Allah.
it wasn't a father involved. Wasn't a father involved. And my mother admired the movement from in a quiet way, from a distance. Okay, let
Yes,
me
ma'am.
just say this. When we had the brothers, they were like busloads, maybe 2 busloads of brothers. We taught them first in the mornings from 9 o'clock to about 12.
Mm.
We had to give our energy to the brothers first.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know how you all are. Which is wonderful. Otherwise, you wouldn't be you. You wouldn't be the brothers.
Yes, ma'am.
And the brothers had on their little suits and bow ties. And I used to have 40 little boys upstairs. They were like 12 years old. 40 little boys. I just loved teaching Muhammad University. That was my first teaching experience. So the little brothers would get off the bus because the sisters had to get off the bus. The little brothers would get on the bus.
Yes, ma'am.
And how they would get on the bus is that you FOI, you mighty, mighty FOI, with your suits on, stood, made a row on both sides, and the brothers got off the bus walking in the middle of that row, the brothers on both sides protecting them. And that was in the midst of Harlem, in the midst of the drug culture. Right next door, there was the drugs, and cocaine, and all kinds of drugs. They would be, matter of fact, Minister Farrkahan, he would shake their hands. I've seen him when he's coming out. They minister, and he would go and let them with the big old hands from the needles. the big risk. He would go and shake their hands, and they would just bow to him. You know, now who knows what happened to their children? Their children could be in the nation now. We don't know that, or their grandchildren. You know.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if I answered it or not.
Oh no, you absolutely did. And when you were, what was it like being so close with the minister? You know, prior to '75, what was that like working with him?
Well, we were just a humble, afraid and humbled and honored. Afraid, humbled, and honored. As a matter of fact, he taught the teachers on that Tuesday that he would be, if he was in town, he would come and teach the teachers. As a matter of fact, the principal director he's passed on to, he was Brother Clark then, and he passed away a few years ago, Brother Sadiq. I think he became an imam. Brother Imam Sadiq would say, the minister is here, the minister is here, and you should see us teachers run into that classroom. And he would come in, oh my Lord, we're just, everybody, we're shaking. And we're just so happy. We're in heaven, big time heaven, you know, and just overwhelmed. Now, the minister taught all of us in that classroom. There were no more than about 40 teachers. I may be a little overly, 35 to 40 teachers in that classroom. The minister would give us all, he was teaching us how to teach Muhammad's children, he said. Mm-hmm. Then that was my goal. The whole goal of my being in Muhammad University as an instructor was to learn how to teach Muhammad's children. And that was search and honor, you know? So we learned from him. I mean, we just learned, and sometime in that room, it would be, I guess the minister couldn't see it, but we were so, I don't want to say, we were so lowly in knowledge, I'll put it that way. We were so lowly in knowledge, that would be, the minister words would be, spiritual words would be like a mist, M-I-S-T, like a mist, a white mist over the teachers. When you look over your colleagues, it would be like a white mist. That's the spiritual blessings that we received for coming in and offering our services to the nation, to the school.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. And when you have any of your students that you formerly taught, did you have any interactions with them after that, after they graduated and moved on in life?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, one thing that, well, I'll tell you about my most honored, famous student, but a few years ago, the students from New York and from all over, but especially from New York, who moved to Atlanta, they gave a appreciation for the then principal. I said, Brother Clark, he changed his name to Sadiq, minister, not minister, but Imam Sadiq. They gave an honorarium just for him at a hotel in Atlanta. And it was packed. It was packed. And we all spoke. All the teachers who attended spoke. And when I spoke, I asked all of the students who taught me, and I taught them, would they please stand? The students stood who I thought I didn't teach. And I was so honored. I was so honored. And I gave my little 5 minutes, a speech of gratitude. And it was just so wonderful having them as my students. Now, the one that, two of them, I taught, they were 12 years old, 11, 12 years old. And I'm talking about sisters now, because I taught the brothers too in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
These two sisters would come into my class and they would start talking to each other. You didn't do that. Muhammad University was well disciplined. It was more disciplined than Blackstone. And you know what I mean. Did you attend Blackstone?
No, ma'am, I did not. Okay. But my brother, my sister did. My brother, my sister did. I didn't attend it.
Very good. But you know the discipline. I mean, very well disciplined.
Yes, ma'am.
And we, so the sisters, these two sisters, they were cousins. And I knew that. and they would come in and they would start talking to each other. Oh, not in Miss Muhammad's, Sister Muhammad's class. No, no. They call me Sister Gloria there, not in Sister Gloria's class.
Yes,
So I
ma'am.
would have to send for the dean. Then I found out uh, the reason that they had to talk to each other, wanted to talk to each other. They were cousins. They were first cousins,
Mm-hmm.
and they were Minister Farrakhan's daughter, the nurse,
Mm.
Iris
Yes, ma'am.
Fatima,
Yes, ma'am.
and
Yes,
her
ma'am.
cousin, his brother Alvin, his brother's
Yes, ma'am.
daughter,
Yes,
oldest
ma'am.
daughter. Those were the two that gave me. As a matter of fact, a few years ago, we had a fashion show in Detroit, I believe it was, on the Holy Day of Atonement, I think it
Yes, ma'am.
was. And Sister Zuhira took me over, ex-Captain Zuhira took me over to the family.
Yes, ma'am.
I was afraid. I didn't want to go. No, she pulled me all, Sister Zuhira
Yes,
pulled
ma'am.
me
I've
all the
interviewed
way
her.
over, and I met the family, and they recognized my face. And even Mother Khadijah, she said, "Yeah, you're Sister Gloria, the dean. The dean of the
Mm.
school was Sister Gloria too." No, ma'am, I'm not the dean. But here is Sister Fatima, the nurse. She
Yes,
said,
ma'am.
"Oh, I know you," with that smile. Her face is a smile. That's what
Yes,
I remember
ma'am.
about her face. Just a beautiful smile. "You were my teacher." And we hugged and all that. And she pulled me away and said, "But you were mean to me." And oh, we laughed. Yes, I was
Uh,
mean. And I said to myself, I consoled myself over the years and said, yeah, if I had been a little meaner, maybe we would have had a doctor or surgeon. I'm going to tell her that one day.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So that's the story of my students that I know. But I see them all the time. I see a student who's just a glorious, they're in Atlanta.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful.
Yes, sir. Many
And
of them in Atlanta. Mhm.
yes, ma'am. What was it like once the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed? What was that like? How did that personally impact you?
Oh, that's a good question. Very good question. Uh, it was, I don't want to say it was a spiritual death. It was a mental death because I didn't know, and the teachers who I knew with me, we didn't know that he was going away. Somehow we didn't get that one day he would go away. And when we just thought he'll be with us forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, as many of our brothers and sisters, we went into, I suppose, a depression. We went into shock, depression, um, and we just. However, the saving grace was uh, Imam Wafdi Muhammad had taken over. That's his son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We call him Imam. He told us not minister, Imam. And when he took over, he paid attention to the school, but not as much as to keep the school open. So after
Mm-hmm.
a year, the school phased out. And in Imam Waqti Muhammad, uh, we loved him because that's who they told us the next leader was. But
Yes, ma'am.
he told us we didn't really have to wear the uniforms anymore. Like right now, I have on a uniform official
Yes, ma'am.
MGT Muslim Girls Training
Yes,
and
ma'am.
General Civilization class
Praise
uniform.
be to Allah.
And I
Yes,
have the
ma'am.
bell-shaped headpiece that you wear with the uniform.
Yes, ma'am.
He told us that we didn't have to wear that anymore in so many words. And so we just had to go find clothes now. You had to go back to we weren't, it was devastating. It really was. I don't like to use the word. Well, it was devastating. I know, the language
Yes, ma'am.
devastating, but it was for myself and many of the teachers. So we went back to school. We prayed on it, and we all went back. Many of us went back to the university. We already had our bachelors, and I believe one or two had their masters.
Mm.
And we went to, well, I went, Allah blessed me to get to Columbia University to get over a period of 3 years, two master's degrees.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. And that way I went into the public school setting. You have to work. So the public schools, I became eventually, we call it special education supervisor.
Mm,
And my special ed group were nothing but boys acting out, and I loved them.
mm.
Boys and girls with learning problems. And I taught teachers how to teach them. And I love that. I love it. I love it. The principal was so glad. I had 4 or 5 schools each year. And the principals, I go around and talk to the principals, and they would tell me, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Come on, this one in regular ed." They would give me the regular students.
Mm, mm.
And would you talk to him and talk to him? And I just loved them. When I talked to them, they listened. So I was just blessed to be able to reach, you know, our brothers, our young brothers and sisters who were not Muslims.
Beautiful. That's amazing. And we want to thank you for your sacrifice and the sacrifice of your family as well, Sister Glorious.
All praises to Allah.
Wonderful. My next question for you, ma'am, is what drew you back into the nation once it was, for those the period when the minister had not stood back up. Once he stood back up, what made you accept the teachings? Like, will Reed come back on?
Well, as I was going to say that there was the minister, Imam Wardi Muhammad, sent 2 teachers to take over the principalship of the school.
Mm,
That was in 75, 76.
mm,
He sent 2 teachers from California. One was principal. Her name was Dr. Fatima Ali, Indian looking sister, but she was sister from here,
mm,
and brought on her assistant with her. And the assistant was called Sister Shirley Baker from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, but she went to California, and she got all of her education from California,
mm.
UCLA. So that's who we had to take us across the waters in the meantime.
Yes, ma'am.
We had workshops all summer, the region, teachers from Pennsylvania, teachers from Boston, Massachusetts, teachers from New Jersey, all of those areas. They came maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and we had workshops. Sister Shirley, who became later on Umil Kaya Muhammad, Mother of Goodness, she and Dr. Fatima Ali taught us another kind of teaching that we'd never heard of, but we were open because we were lost. We were lost, so we were
Yes,
open
ma'am.
to that teaching. And they exposed us to Scientology, but in the sense of the auditing, the same that we do
Mm,
now, the auditing process.
mm,
And they took us to the headquarters in New York. We went there and met the people there, but that was only once or twice.
mm,
Then we came back and applied it, the auditing
mm.
to ourselves, but Sister Shirley, I have to give her credit, Umil Kaya Muhammad, she just passed away on my birthday, September 15. I wrote her obituary. Minister Farrakhan and she would meet all the time. And I wanted
Mm,
to
mm.
get this obituary to him if he can remember her, but she looks pretty much the same.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to try to do that because she listened to Minister Farrakhan. They had long talks because it was a transitional period, a period of lostness in there. And the minister has told us how he felt and what he did. And so Sister Shirley helped me. She became very close to me. She became my god sister, like,
Mm, mm.
and she helped me with my son. She was just Allah just had her right there at my door. Personally, we got closer and closer. As I said, I just wrote her obituary September 15. I wrote it the day she died,
Mm.
transitioned
Yes,
in
ma'am.
Arkansas. So that helped me afloat. And I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, no, yes, ma'am. You did. I just want to know, like, what made you follow the minister, like, like now, like how you still wear the garment and stuff now.
That lady, Sister Neil Kaya Muhammad, she was a wise woman. Allah had
Mm,
gifted her. She reminded me of Mother Tynetta in a way.
mm,
She had
mm,
gifts, divine gifts, and she would teach us. Oh my goodness, she'd teach us things that we never heard before about Allah. She would teach and teach and teach, and eventually she told me we went with Imam Wafdi Muhammad, and we went to his meetings and all of that. However, after a while, I couldn't go there anymore. And I told her, and she said, why don't you go back over to the nation? Minister Farrakhan has opened it back up. Why don't you go over to the nation? My sister told me, that's why I just love her so much. You know, she said, go back. My son went back first, and then I went back to the nation. And I would always go to the mosque in New York when they moved to 127th Street.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I would always go there every now and then. And if the minister was coming, oh yes, I was online, but they would tell me to come on. Many of the sisters knew me from before, so they would say, come on, come on, come on up, you know. And but all of her teachings, and she was not against any of Nation of Islam. She was not against Imam Wardi Muhammad. We pointed out what we didn't particularly care for, but she said it had to be. See, she made me to understand that it had to be. He had to come in and give what he could give.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Right? She said it's all divine. Yes, but I cried many nights, you know, wanting that old way like now. And it's back. And because of her, I came back.
Beautiful. Praise be to Allah. And what what was it about the minister that made you go from seeing him maybe as a political speaker or someone you saw from New York grow into someone who was divinely guided? What was it about him that made you know he was the one to follow?
Oh, yes, sir. Well, that was from New York. I mean, when Minister Farrakhan was the minister in New York and the regional minister of the Northeast region, everyone, he had New York and the region in his hands. All of the politicians, everyone knew that Muslim school down there is the best Black school. And Minister Farrakhan is the one that you go to whenever anyone needed a speaker, they would get Minister Farrakhan. He was, and then of course we had the New York. I have to think New York. When we had the big, not bazaar, but when we went to the, I just can't call the name right now. We had over 70,000 people there.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I was MGT working. Yes, then, but that was across the bridge. I cannot think.
Black Family Day.
Yes, that's right. Black Solidarity. That's right.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Okay, yes, ma'am.
There wasn't Black Solidarity. It was the name of the place. I won't hold it.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
But the name of Rikers Island.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Rikers Island.
Okay.
Rikers Island was the prison, but it was over across the way. But there was a big park there underneath the bridge, and we had 70,000 people, and it's on YouTube. And everybody knew that, as I said, Minister Farrakhan, New York loved Minister Farrakhan. I'm talking about the politician, Percy Sutton. All of them loved. Percy Sutton was, of course, a lawyer. And he also had the radio station there, owned the radio station. He also invested in the Apollo Theater. That group, you know, Gil Noble was a radio, again, had this program on Sundays on the radio. Matter of fact, he spoke to, they went by Minister Farrakhan. They almost called him father. You know,
yes,
they knew Elijah Muhammad, Jesse Jackson called him Papa. You know, father, Papa. Yeah, but they loved Minister Farrakhan. New York was full of Farrakhan, you know, so that was a political, I mean, he was the one to go to. And so in 1972, 73, Angela Davis, I don't know if you know Angela Davis, it's on YouTube. Angela Davis was a Black Panther in California. And she headed the Black Panther along with some of the other brothers, all of the names I can't think of, Elrich Cleaver. But if you look it up on Google, you'll get the names of those. Most of them have passed on or were killed by the system. But the reason I bring up that, in 7 Speeches, you see the book, 7 Speeches?
Yes, ma'am, I see it.
Okay. Well, Minister Farrakhan was the guest speaker. My first time hearing him speak and looking at him
Mm,
in person was the guest speaker at, and it has here in the book, Minister Farrakhan speaks at rally for Angela Davis.
mm, mm.
And my sister and I and all of my son and her three children, we went. We all had on African. The audience was full of people, full of Black people. And this hotel was in the back of Macy's department store where they have the Thanksgiving Day parade.
Mm, mm.
That's Macy's. 2 blocks down on 8th Avenue, that's where the hotel was that sponsored, that facilitated
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Angela Davis rally. Well, Minister Farrakhan, well, they had quite a few speakers, but he was the last speaker. And when I saw the two brothers standing by him on the east side, it looked so good. But I said, now, what are they going to do? What we didn't know, what are they? They're standing on the side. Oh, they protected him. You
Mm.
kind of figure it out. And they just looked so good with their bow ties on, their suits. Minister Franklin came out and kind of get a little slang. I'm sorry, as a teacher, I shouldn't do that. But he tore us up.
Yes, ma'am.
He
Yes,
took
ma'am.
us to the east in that room. Everyone in there had on African something, dashikis or
Mm.
dailies, or the brothers had on the
Yes,
kufi.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
He took us to the east, to the west, to the north, and to the south. And that's how you felt the audience was going, to the side, to the east, to the west, to the north. And I mean, he taught us so well. And I mean, I guarantee you, most of those people ended up being Muslims within a year because I was one of them.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Praise
yes,
be
sir.
to the
And
Lord.
that's how we got back into, that's how we were uh, orientated into the political movement of really the Nation of Islam, because everybody went to hear Farrakhan. They had to go hear Farrakhan. All right. But that's how I came into the nation. Yeah, but within a year I was Muslim.
Praise be to Allah. Excellent. And Sister Glorious, I have a quick 60-second commercial break for the sponsors of this episode because you're giving us such great history, and we want to make sure that all of our sponsors, if you would like to be a sponsor of the People's Podcast, $ Cash App the People's Podcast. I want to thank hold on a second. Here we go. Boom. I want to make sure that we thank here we go. Thank you, Sister Glorious. Thank you for your patience. But I
I'll
want to
pray
make
for Allah.
yes, ma'am. I want to make sure that we thank. Here we go. Boom. Here we go. Thank Street Premiere Media Production, 4K camera, drones, television, movies from my brother Rashad and his business partner Jamal. If you all need some media production, reach out to them. They will be right on top of that. And they have a lot of projects coming up, as well as a clothing line. My sister Miriam's children's book, ABC I Love Me, and coloring book, which is on Amazon. Make sure we support. Thank you very much, Mimi, for your continued support. Please get this book for your children. My sister Naima, Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She's teaching ballet virtually to children all across the country and as well as in person now with the mask, COVID, social distancing, but she has a dance studio and she's teaching. Supreme Men's Clothing, Fashion in St. Louis, Missouri. Thank you very much for your continued sponsorship, sir. There we go. Ronald Muhammad, BMW Entertainment. We got Raising Black Millionaire, Sister Tia Muhammad. She teaches Black children economic empowerment and development with flashcards. Thank you very much, Sister Tia. We want to make sure Brother Kenneth Muhammad, bow tie maker extraordinaire. If you need your bow ties done, please reach out to Brother Kenneth. He'll get you the best bow ties in wherever you are in the country. Todd X McGraw, Supreme Team Insurance Group. Thank you very much, Brother Todd X McGraw, for your continued sponsorship. Exodus, a new way of life, credit restoration. Thank you very much. I'm coming right back to you, Sister Glorious. Thank you for your great country. Colleagues Boutique, they have amazing shirts, custom if you need that. Thank you very much for your sponsorship. We need that. Brother Chantel X, the X and Express. They ship things all across the country. If you need something, let them know. Boom. And they hiring as well. Brother Jabbar Muhammad, Client First Constructions, painting, carpentry, flooring and plumbing. Please reach out to Brother Jabbar Muhammad. Sister Landra El Muhammad, More Than Navy Beans. Thank you very much for your continued sponsorship. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry Turkey's Leg. Let's make sure we support our brother. And he has a new location as well. Our sister who does Mirrors Home. She does Mirrors Homes decor. She does home decoration. If you need that, please reach out to that sister, Brother Rashad Muhammad, COVID-19 disinfection cleaning service. If you're in the Chicago area, please reach out to Brother Rashad Muhammad. He'll get everything clean. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. Thank you very much, Dad. And last but not least, my two books, Cleopatra and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are on Amazon. Thank you all for your continued sponsorship, and thank you, Sis Glorious, for your patience.
Oh, praises to Allah. Thank
Yes,
you for going over. I'm so glad to hear all of the supporters that you have. I'm so happy, but I wanted to say your book. I've read your book. One of them I still have to read. What you said, Cleopatra?
Yes, ma'am. It's a children's book. Yes, ma'am. My children's book.
That one I had. Oh, the children's book. Oh, that's why. Okay. But I read your book and your history. What a beautiful history.
Thank you very much.
And it's a wonderful thing to be able to get that information out too. It's like auditing your own self.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much because it takes time to write a book, but we thank you for and all the work that you do.
Praise be to Allah. Sister Glorious, have you ever been faced with a time of fear? And if so, how did you overcome that moment of fear?
Well, you have pre-Islam and after Islam. Before Islam, I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of we had gone to the movies. You saw the white man, Dracula, all of the coming out of the graves and all that. Yeah. And
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
In the dark, and it's a white man. You're afraid of the white man. And all the fear that the movies put in us. That fear that I truly felt was real to me. Now, how did I get rid of all of that fear? Well, Nation of Islam. When I came into the Nation of Islam, the reality of God, the reality of the real world, the reality of knowing that I am a God, the reality of knowing that Black people are God and we're the original people, all that removed the ignorant fear of the white man that I had in my head and my heart. And it replaced it with, of course, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Master Farad Muhammad, and of course, Minister Sis Farrakhan. So I thank him for all of the teachings because I listen to his CDs and DVDs every night. I listen to it, go to sleep. That's my milk, my little bottle. Every night I listen to Minister Farrakhan's Who is God? All the tapes that he has done on YouTube.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So anyone who want to hear the minister, what he all the teachings of the Nation of Islam, go to YouTube. It's there. Put in Farrakhan's name, and all of those tapes are there. All of the teachings are there, and that's what I listen to. That got the fear out of the white man fear, because all of the fear mostly that we have is from the white man.
Beautiful, yes, ma'am. And what has been your greatest joy in your tenure of the Nation of Islam?
My greatest joy is coming into the Nation of Islam, is being in the Nation of Islam. It's being a Muslim MGT, we call ourselves. Master Farad Muhammad told the Honorable Muhammad, call us MGT, Muslim Girls Training and General Civilization class. So coming into this great teaching of what God wanted us to do and to be, coming into myself, that has been the greatest joy. Even now, I'm just so happy. Mr. Farrakhan came to Atlanta a few years ago, maybe about 5 years ago, there too about 5 years ago. And he mentioned that that God told us, we know this already, but somehow we keep going and keep going. We just kind of lose some of the things that we are supposed to hold on to. And he said, go back to your lesson. Set yourself in heaven at once.
Yes,
that's what Master Farad Muhammad, who we call God, told the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to teach us, the lost found, dead Black men and women of America.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
said, first of all, put yourself in heaven. Even if you drink, you smoke, even if you do any of the other things, you're committing all kinds of acts, first set yourself in heaven.
Yes, ma'am.
And from a heavenly perspective, then you start getting rid of those things that you shouldn't have in your life. That's really destroying your life. So that's the joy. That's just joy. Being in Muhammad University as a teacher, joy. Being in New York at the time of the revolution, and Minister Farrakhan was our savior and teaching us who saved him,
Yes,
the
ma'am. Yes,
Honorable
ma'am.
Elijah Muhammad, and who saved him, Master Farad Muhammad. Huh? Oh, this is a wonderful thing. And as I said, I'm teaching the orientation class processing. Any sister who wants to come on over, come. And I will be the first week that your first week manual and lessons, I go through every page with you. You're never alone. You never have a test. Then you have week 2, week 3, week 4. Come on back. And week 5, of course, you have a review. And by that time, your letter should be coming from Chicago saying, you now have your X. Yes,
Beautiful.
sir. So that's the joy. Being in the Nation of Islam, it's just so much joy. I
Praise be
can't
to
even
Allah.
describe it. It's just joyful, you know.
Yes, ma'am. Now, Sister Glorious, you spoke the other day, and when I called you, you said you were just getting finished having a tennis match. How long have you played tennis, and how are you able to still play tennis for all these years?
Well, I tell you, the Nation of Islam in 75, when that transition happened, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad went away. We know now he's on the mothership. We know that. He's
Allahu Akbar.
alive. We know that
Yes, ma'am.
now, but we didn't know it then. So in 75, 76, I saw at the the YWCA in Brooklyn, New York,
Yes, ma'am.
where I lived. One of the teachers I saw her playing tennis on a court, and I said the next Monday she came to school, and I said, "Well, how did you learn?" And she told me she learned at the Y. Well, you bet. Yeah, I was there at the Y the next week. I could not hit a ball. I could not hit. And we're talking, I've been playing tennis now for about 46 years. About 46 years I've been playing tennis,
Praise
you
be
know.
to
And I
Allah.
teach tennis to anyone who want to learn free, FREE, free of charge.
Mm.
You don't have to have the racket. You don't have to have the balls. You get that later. I have all of that in the trunk of my car.
Go ahead,
And
Sister
you also
Glorious.
can come and clean the trunk of my car. No, I'm not a car cleaner, so you no. But anyone, and I teach it too. Matter of fact, I have lessons. I give lessons in my development here.
Yes, ma'am.
I give lessons to anyone who wants to learn.
That's amazing.
Mother, from 3 years old to 99. You could be 100 and over 99. All right. So you never stop. You keep going. You never stop. If you stop, you give up on life. So you be grateful, be grateful, be grateful to Allah that
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
able to move to the. I must tell you, when I played basketball in high school, my senior year, I fell on the floor. This was in Mississippi, and knocked everything out of my knees.
Mm.
But they didn't take me. We didn't have Black doctors at that time, so just kept the pain until 76, 77. That's when I uh, went to learn how to play tennis. Well, my knees were very badly torn up. The meniscus all gone, everything gone, and bone rubbing against bone. But my little grandsons, who are now 20, I think 19, 15, and my grandson, Hamza Muhammad, who's 23,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
we were praying, and they came and prayed for my knees. I asked them to pray for grandma's knees. They touched them and prayed, and they made up their own words. And I couldn't get up out of a chair,
Mm.
even with the help of the arms of the chair. But that's been a long time ago. They were like 9, 10 years old, 11 years old. And now I started playing tennis, and Allah just took it away. He heard the prayers of the children.
Beautiful.
Yes, and I
Beautiful.
thank Allah, thank Allah, thank Allah. Yes, sir. So that's how I'm playing tennis. Now, not that I don't have pain. I have a little thing that I put on and put the little band on and my knees and all that, but I don't let it stop me. Come on, Dr. Arnhem, start again.
Yes. Praise be to
Yes,
Allah. Well,
praise be to Allah.
Sister Glorious, behind me are some of my favorite albums of different artists that I like. So I'm a big fan of music. In your time, like, do you have albums, not the ones behind me, but do you have an album that you like to listen to of music? Did you ever like music?
Oh, yes, I did. Of course, pre Nation of Islam.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
after the nation, I'm telling you, what did after the nation, we listened to Minister Farrakhan sing A White Man's Heaven. A
So,
Black
okay,
Man's
what about pre nation? I mean, who was it, like James Brown top here? What was that?
we were, well, in high school, of course, James Brown,
Okay,
please,
okay.
please, please, his slow records, his ballads,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
it's not on Black and Proud. That came many years later,
So
you know.
please, please,
And
please.
it's Man's World, that came many years later. But we
Yes,
loved
ma'am.
James Brown. We didn't know what he looked like because
Mm,
they didn't have pictures of themselves spread throughout the South.
yes, ma'am.
We just heard the sound, and there were so many artists, so many of the Black artists. I can't even think of all the names. Chuck Jackson, Sam Cooke.
Sam
And
Cooke,
when I came to
absolutely.
New York, I started going to the Apollo Theater. That's when I got
Okay.
to see them all.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I saw even the Jackson Five there, Donna Ross and the Supremes.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. Yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
Apollo
yeah.
Theater. You had to go to the Apollo. So that was before Nation of Islam. However, if you go to YouTube, uh, what many of the Muslims would know me. If you go to YouTube, Minister Farrakhan and Dr. Betty Shabazz reunion,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I was sitting in the audience with my son, and they show it very clear,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
so
Yes,
that
ma'am.
you can see. You say, "Oh, that's Sister Glorious." Yes, yes, sir.
Mm,
So that's the kind of music that ballads, more of the ballads. But I love our music, you know, the good part of our music.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
my sister Mimi says, well, Sister Tracy says, this is beautiful. My sister Miriam says, Sister Glorious has such a great spirit. She loves your energy. Thank you both for this interview. Thank you, Mimi. Sister Lucretia Monique says, Sister Glorious, I love her so much.
Oh,
Beautiful.
praises be to Allah. I love you back, my sister. I
Yes, ma'am.
love my sisters and my brothers.
Beautiful.
That's
And I just want to say that my last production, my mom's, of course, was there. My sisters, they were in it. My mom's and my sister Naima, and we were at. It was Red Ivy, and we were at. Oh my goodness! The last place we did my last musical, and when I
yes.
got off the stage and I came down, it had to be, I don't know what art center. It was 3 years ago, but Sister
That was
Gloria.
at the, excuse me, that was at the theater in
Southwest Art Center. Southwest Art Center.
yes, right, right. I
Southwest
do.
Art Center. And
Mm,
Sister
yes, sir.
Glorious was right there, showing me nothing but love, saying she enjoyed the musical. I thank you, Sister Glorious, for always being so
Praise be
kind
to
to
Allah.
me and
Praise be to
supporting
Allah.
me in my speaking, my music, and you brought my book. So I just always showing love. And Sister Glorious, what would you like your legacy to be?
My legacy. Oh my goodness, that's a big word.
Yes, ma'am.
Legacy. After living at least 129, inshallah, God willing, if it pleases Allah.
Yes,
I want
ma'am.
to play tennis at 129. I can be
Yes,
in a
ma'am.
wheelchair. They have wheelchair tennis.
Yes, ma'am.
uh, Knowing whatever that I've done in my life of good, whatever I've done in my life of good, Nation of Islam have shown me what good is. They've shown me how to love, how to be kind, how to teach it, how to exemplify it, how to be, just be. And when you be, you're godly and you're the God that you're supposed to be. So the legacy that I would like is to know that I love Allah. There is no God but Allah. I want to take that with me onto the earth,
Yes, ma'am.
put it back in the earth.
Yes,
There is
ma'am.
no God but Allah.
Allah
and Muhammad
Akbar.
is a messenger of Allah. And that legacy of how well I did is the children will tell me, the grown-ups that I've taught will tell me. Oh, Sister Gloria, do I remember you? As a matter of fact, one of Captain Yusuf Shah, who
Yes,
was
ma'am.
the captain in New York under Minister Farrakhan.
Yes, ma'am.
His son, I taught one of his sons, and oh my goodness, he's in touch with me right now.
Mm,
Yeah, Amir Shah,
mm.
one of the next to the youngest boy,
Yes,
a
ma'am.
young man now. Yeah, so it's wonderful to hear someone say, you've done, I remember you, you did good. You taught me this, you taught me that. Only by the grace and mercy of Allah. So my legacy is the Nation of Islam is my legacy.
Yes, ma'am.
Farrakhan is my legacy. And we
Yes,
just pray that our minister, that Allah gives him what he has for him. And I didn't ask Allah to extend his life. I didn't ask him that. But I said, Allah, you know what extended life is, and you know what my heart is. So if you just let us hold him a little bit longer,
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
just a
Yes, ma'am.
little bit longer, then we would be oh so happy. But he's given us everything. Minister
Yes,
Farrakhan has given us all in all. So I'm so appreciative to him and to your father, Minister Sharif.
thank you.
Oh my goodness. Minister Sharif have saved my grandson. He
Praise be.
saved him just by talking to him. He said, you better call me every week, and so I can, it's just wonderful. Muslims, it's nothing like us coming back to our natural selves and helping each other, being kind to each other. So no, 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 come on. You don't have to necessarily be in the Nation of Islam to get the kindness.
Yes, ma'am.
No,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
meet a Muslim on the street and you just feel so good. You meet a brothers with the paper, selling the paper, the bean pies, whatever they sell it, and you just feel so good to have
Beautiful.
met that. You leave with a smile on your face. So, and I
Beautiful.
thank Minister Farrakhan. Thank you, Brother Joshua.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you, Sister
thank you.
Glorious.
There's no one like you, and you know what the next step is.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm on it. I'm on top of it, Sister Glorious. I'm on top
Graduation,
of it.
and I will be at the second graduation.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And Sister Glorious, please, I want to make sure I give a special shout out to your son, your grandson,
Yes, sir.
Brother Hamza. We love him and have watched him from Blackstone. My mom's love him. My sister, Naima Rashad, they went to Blackstone with him when he was younger. And every time I see him at Publix at the grocery store, he is on his post, on his job, and filled with the spirit of love. So please give
Thank
him.
you so much. Well, I certainly will. And thank you for being a model. You know that. Drill team captain, you're just a model for him. And he just look at you with it, and the big brothers with the smile on, I know who they are. I could go to them and they're being an example for me. So that's what he tells me. You're an example for him.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, love you, Sister Glorious, and love your family.
I love you too, my dear brother. And thank you so much again. Thank you
Yes, ma'am.
very much.
Assalamu
Appreciate
alaikum.
you. Wa alaikum salam.